So, now it is time for one of my first and maybe one of my old favorites, at least, Exalted, with the one and only Rafiq of the many. He has been around for quite some time. It's actually with art of Michael Komarek or something like that. When I got back into Magic several years ago, this was one of the first arts that really caught my eye, and it didn't take long for me to build an Exalted deck. You hit with something alone and it gets a lot of bonuses, specifically from Rafiq you get double strike. Bant, which this, like most of the Exalted stuff comes from Bant, not everything, but like most of it. Bant can really feel good, in my opinion. We'll get back to that. It has a certain emotional, what shall we call it, foundation. There needs to be a lot of Exalted creatures for you to really make it as an Exalted deck. Therefore, let's look at, for example, Outrider of Jess. It's really a bit underwhelming for some people to have a creature for 4 mana, a 2/2, that doesn't do anything else than Exalted, but you need to appreciate also the flavor text. The island nation of Jess is under constant siege from Valeron on the mainland. Riders traverse the coastline, always on the lookout for sails or haven. I like that it's a good chunk of world building. Here we have flavor text by Elspeth the Great. No. Guardians of Akrasa. It's a defender, so not very impressive from an offensive point of view, but the Exalted is really nice, and it definitely gives a feeling of Exalted. The flavor text is just awesome. We move on with Sighted Cased Sorcerer. It can protect itself a bit with Shroud, that's good. Dawnray Archer, not that often that you end up using the ping, but it's cool, it's really cool. Nice art too, in my opinion. Rock's Charger, the trample is just on him, not to be transferred to someone else, but if he gets to be your beater, he'll be happy. Even Squire, the flying can actually help a lot, since it runs into the same kind of problem as, for example, a heroic deck is a blocker will just ruin your day. Ethercased Knight, it has some improvements from Esper, I think. Exalted. The classical Khazali Pride Mage that has seen extensive play in many formats. The ability to remove an enchantment or artifact is very, very important. Knight of Glory, Prot Black and Exalted. One of the examples of Exalted showing up outside of Alara. Court Archers, actually one of my favorites. I feel that you get both really, really cool art, and if the camera wants to focus, maybe it doesn't want to focus, I don't know. Okay, well, the flavor text anyway. Can you focus on the flavor text, please? Yes. The sun-dappled court of Valeron stands secure behind a wall of steel-tipped arrows. Don't know why the camera is messing up. They seem a bit sad, but it's still a beautiful piece of art. Also, we have a Frontline Sage, which can actually end up helping a real lot with looting. We have Battlegrace Angel. I used to also have Exalted Angel in this, but I don't fit it in anymore. But still, it's nice with the lifelink. Wave Skimmer Avon, the Bant colored, so a bit trickier to cast, but it's Exalted. And Sigilled Paladin, first strike Exalted. I think also Greg Staples here has done a lot of good art. Really, really nice. Oh, I almost forgot Akrasan Squire. Actually one of my first Exalted cards that I understood how it worked. It took me quite a while to understand why Exalted was even good. I think this is what made me understand small creatures cooperating. Now, that's the core of it, but in my opinion, you need to have some kind of variety. I mean, you have some other Exalted functions, for example, Guildspire Avenger, Chris Rahn, always really good art from Chris Rahn. You might destroy something. Finest Hour, again by Michael Komarek. This can really just end games. It's just the ability to re-trigger Exalted is amazingly powerful. Angelic Benediction, also Michael Komarek, really cool art. Even cooler flavor text, maybe, if the camera wants to, yes. That's my cat. Sorry about that, the cat has the litter box in my office and tells me whenever the cat has done its business, and then it wants to have a reward candy. So for the sake of my recording to be able to continue, I paused. Even in single combat, I am never alone. Very nice flavor text. And just to make it even stranger, M13 produced a land card that has Exalted. It's not a very beautiful art in my opinion. It's almost as if I would not add this card from an art standpoint to my deck, because this is not at all how I feel Exalted should be represented. A different art style of how it should be presented could have much better been found in the awesome Seaside Citadel. I mean, just the art, the flavor text. I will not read it for it's amazing. And Volkan Baga, of course, always very nice art from Volkan Baga. If the camera were to focus, yes. I mean, the art is just breathtaking, in the literal sense. You could just dream an entire fantasy novel series in this place. I like the clouds particularly. So, we'll get back to some art comments later on. I run a few ways of protecting my creatures. For example, you might end up being forced to target someone else with this very annoying flag bearer. Or I might run a kind of cop-out, kind of runaway function where I just bounce the creature that is getting your love. Hisoka's guard might be able to stop stuff from interacting with something that I like. And hindering light, that can actually reward you with drawing a card if you want to protect something. And really cool flavor text, and again art by Chris Rahn. I actually don't run Lightning Greaves in this deck. That might be a bit of a weakness on my part. To continue with awesome art, you have Rebecca Guay, the queen of art. Angelic Renewal. I mean, this, you can just look at this art for as long as you want and just cry. Yes, and it also saves a creature, which is useful. Some functional, helpful cards like Bant Charm should really be included, because it interacts for 3 mana. You can either destroy an artifact, you might even counter something, or you might remove a creature. And the flavor text is awesome. This is always an auto-include, in my opinion. And Bant Battle Mage. It can help with getting the damage through, and it has a cute but rather confusing flavor text. Don't really understand what the mage is actually doing in this art, but hopefully it's doing it well. And I think also Donato Giancola has very, very impressive art. There are some secondary Exalted creatures. This is, by the way, also a card I think I hinted to in another video, in my heroic video. Notice that wooden symbol with the necklaces on. In my opinion, this is basically the same kind of venerated symbol. Obviously, it's an Abyssinian symbol. But it could even be the same place as in the card Travel Preparations. This isn't a 100% functional Exalted, but like as long as you hit with a human, it could be. Moving on, you can be rewarded at sorcery speed though, but it's a slight Exalted-ish kind of thing. Angelic Page, almost Exalted, also very beautiful representation of Serra's realm. Ghost Warden, also slightly Exalted. Infantry Veteran, still running on the same kind of logic. Angelic Exaltation, really strong, really good. It doesn't say Exalted, but in all cases it really should be Exalted. Sunscape Apprentice, it's again the kind of supporting function. It costs a bit, but yeah. You can even save a creature at very slow pace. Eidolon of Inspiration, it's a trigger this time instead of a tap function, but in my opinion, if the camera were to focus, yes, it's really, really nice. We have Anointer of Champions, again the same kind of small creature helping out function, and Serra's Advocate, which buffs +2/+2. This card, I could talk for hours about this card. So, we're not done yet though, because we also have a kind of mishmash of things that reward you for all your creatures, and even gives trample. It forces a block. It might not be so relevant, the last part, but it's for 3 mana. It is really strong. We have Might of the Masses, +1/+1 for everything. Appeal, +1/+1 and trample, and you might even on the Aftermath, I think you can force things to be tapped, right? So yeah, really, really good card for Exalted. Chorus of Might, another kind of buff with trample. You have Sigil of Valor, that gives +1/+1. Eidolon of Countless Battles rewards you for creatures and auras, but I don't have a lot of them. Pennon Blade, buffs for creatures, and the one aura then, it buffs for creatures and possibly cycles, but why would you do that in this deck? So, all of this ends up to a very, very strong Voltron kind of deck, but you need some way of delivering it too, because, like, admittedly, people will want to stand in your way. So, why not deliver it on Soul of the Rapids, flying hexproof? Or why not its smaller cousin, Ascended Law Mage, flying hexproof? It's actually an Azorius card, so, but yeah, functionally it really fits here. Without the hexproof, but still the Convoke is nice if you have a lot of creatures in play. And for the love of, yes, it is as strong as your creatures. So this is a very strong beater. To finish on an art comment, I really, really can't stress enough how much I love the Obelisk of Bant. The flavor text, the function, and oh my god, the art. I can just sit and look at it. I can dream myself away into this world. This is what I feel this game should really be lauded and appreciated for. Its evocative art style. Now, This deck I don't run a lot these days because in a way the gameplay is very straightforward and even boring at times, and if you run into even the slightest amount of control you're bound to die. But as a casual deck it really hits a sweet spot for me. This is a white centered deck also, which is why it gets the white box. This deck makes me happy. This deck poses the soul.